internationally recognized teacher, public speaker, and media spokesperson. Got her chiropractic degree from Western States Chiropractic College. She's also about to get an MD degree, but has to take one more exam. During the past 25 years in practice and subsequent to addressing her own health conditions, she found that food sensitivities and improper digestion contribute to a surprisingly extensive number of ailments. These include overweight, obesity, skin problems, chronic fatigue syndrome, immune disorders, asthma, some form of cancer, and of course digestive diseases. Without going on to the rest of it, in 1998 she established the Bioset Institute, and it's here where she focuses on the treatment of allergy-related conditions. I think I've said enough on here. Let me give you all the cup.
Am I on? Oh, great. It's really great to be here. I was looking forward to it, and there's so many different topics that I could talk about that in a day I address in a clinic that I have in Mill Valley, California. But one of the areas that my recent book, or my revised book came out, is on Live Free from Asthma and Allergies. I think probably of all the conditions that the work that I developed now about 15 years ago has truly incredible, miraculous results. And many doctors and friends of mine who are physicians, practitioners, chiropractors, acupuncturists, usually would say that when an asthmatic would come into their office, they'd rather turn around and walk the other way, because they're so complicated, and there's so many factors. But after working on so many patients for many, many years, the work called Bioset, well, I'll introduce in a few minutes, has pretty incredible results with asthma. And there's probably not any asthmatic, no matter how severe they are, that Bioset cannot handle and improve their life and their health permanently. And I'm talking about little kids as well as adults who've had it their whole life. So I thought that that's the topic I can address tonight, and then I'd love to open it up to any questions, because I'm sure a lot of you do have questions. After I go over what I do and what this topic is about, I'd be happy to answer them, because Bioset also addresses many chronic conditions as well. So I'd be happy to discuss with any of you that, because it sounds like there's so many different things already I've heard and would love to address. But just to begin, there are about 20 million asthma patients in America right now. And even though there's supposedly more advanced medications and testing procedures, it has not changed at all the growing condition of asthma and all the asthma-related conditions like chronic sinusitis, bronchitis, bronchiectasis, emphysema, etc. There is more and more little children being diagnosed at young ages, when that was almost unheard of with asthma and asthma-related conditions. So I have put so much time and energy into not only researching and studying in my own practice, but also working clinically with all these people that I developed this technique called Bioset. I just wanted to begin with, which I love to talk about. I probably have hundreds and hundreds of case histories that I could just spend a whole hour talking about, but I wanted to just share with you this particular woman, because it kind of summarizes how well somebody can do who's been given up to, we can't do anything for you. Just to give you a little history, I was a chiropractor for, I don't want to tell you how long. give away my age, but for many years, probably as long as the other doctor was. And for my whole life, I always had bloating and digestive problems, ever since I can remember. And now when I have people that come to see me for that, I want to hug them and relate to them. I say, I've been there. And my parents didn't really address it. And I remember feeling it and suffering with it. I remember I couldn't wear tight pants or anything I ate. And when I go to a party at night, I wouldn't eat all day, because if I ate, I knew I would get bloated and I looked like I was pregnant. And this was ever since I was a little girl. So when I started chiropractic school, it got worse, because if you've read my books, I talk about this in my story, but I had to work and support myself to go to school. Nobody paid for me. So I would work, I would go to school till 3 o'clock, and then I'd go and work in a hospital, emergency room, to 11 o'clock, and then come home and study. So this is what I did at least 3 or 4 nights out of the week. And so with lack of sleep and the stress of school and supporting myself, it got worse and really flared up. I graduated and was at the point where I could only eat one food, and I lived on grapes. That's all I could eat for months and months, because the only food I could eat, everything else just made me feel worse. And I finally went and got diagnosed, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And that was I was like 27 years old. And the only options for me at that time was drugs, steroids, or surgery at some point. And you'll probably get cancer, because 10% of people with ulcerative colitis go on and get colon cancer. I was given the whole thing. Don't you love when you go to a doctor and they give you all that, all those statistics, right? And I said, there's no way that I'm going to live on, here I'm a chiropractor, I'm into natural medicine, there's no way I'm going to live on steroids or other medications. So I went to a postgraduate course in orthopedics. I took this diplomate, and I didn't know why I did it, but things happen for a reason. Well, during my time in that course, one of my mentors knew what I was going through, and he said, Ellen, he says, did you ever hear of a digestive enzyme? And this was like years ago. Nobody heard of an enzyme. Nobody even knew how to spell it. No one could pronounce it, honestly. And I didn't. And he said, well, go see this other doctor, and I think you should get evaluated and try a digestive enzyme and see if it'll help you. Anyway, to make a long story short, I went to see this person, and I was diagnosed with an inability to digest sugars and starches. Easy, right? Whoever would think that for colitis, right? And you have all these food allergies as well. So I started this vegetarian full-spectrum digestive enzyme, and literally within 2 weeks, I have never had a problem again. Never. So, as you can imagine, there's enzymes, and I was telling somebody, I said to myself at that time, I said, you know what? I said, at some time, 21st century, enzymes are going to be a household word. Because look at what it did to me. And of course now, everybody's heard of enzymes. So, but what I did is I also noticed, not only did my digestion improve, or was cured, if you could say cured, I also noticed my hair was amazing, my skin, I didn't crave foods, and I didn't need an afternoon nap at 2 o'clock after my busy morning at work. I noticed I needed less sleep, I had more energy, and I noticed all these little things, and I said, could it be from an enzyme? So what I did in my practice, and I had a really busy chiropractic practice in Marin County, probably one of the biggest in Northern California, I gave everybody a digestive enzyme. I didn't care if they came in for a sprained ankle or a torticollis or a low back pain. I gave everyone an enzyme. And Micro Miracles is the book that compiled all my research, all the time I spent on what I saw with just one digestive enzyme. So they call me the Empress of enzymes because there's not a day that goes by whether I'm standing in Whole Foods or I'm on the radio talking or I'm here that I don't mention enzymes. And my daughter who's back there who grew up with enzymes as well as my son knows you don't eat a food without taking your digestive enzyme. And now she gives it out to her friends. Enzymes saved my life. So getting back to my story about my asthmatic, okay, so what I did also, I had so much energy, I decided that I always wanted to not only have a chiropractic degree, I always wanted to have a medical degree. So in the year 2000, I sold my practice and I went back to school to get my medical degree because I had so much energy, right? And after I finished my course, my medical degree, I opened up a little practice with Dr. Elson Haas. Some of you know him in San Rafael. So I worked there, and I saw a few patients. Well, this woman came in. Her name was Aiko. She came to see me. Severe, severe asthmatic, severe, to the point where nothing worked for her. Her inhalers, her anti-inflammatories, nothing. And they actually said, there's nothing we can do for you. She could not even walk one block without symptoms. And she's an artist. She was 47 years old at the time, and crying to me, and she's saying, I have been everywhere. Somebody told me to come to you, and I found you because I don't advertise anymore because I had such a busy practice, I couldn't deal with having a practice like that again. So she said, I found you, and I had this little office in Dr. Elson Haas's office, and she came in and she said, is there anything that you can do? And I welcome those asthmatics because I have such great results. And I said, absolutely. So we worked together for about 2 months, 3 months with the Bioset system, which I'll describe. And now she comes in, this is like, I think 3 years later, she comes in once in a while because she doesn't follow a good diet. She never listened to me. And she now is a well-known sculptor that she has. Actually, she just emailed me. She has her picture on this magazine. And she screams in my office. She says, it makes me cry, why won't these pulmonologists or these allergy doctors listen to what I have to say about what you do? I scream at them. I don't use any medication. Once in a while, because I don't follow the diet, I drink my wine, and I have all this dairy products, and I eat wheat because I'm a no-grain person. I take everyone off of grains. And I have my pasta. So once in a while I have to use my inhaler. Or if I travel sometimes. She said, but they don't listen to me. She says, I scream at them. She says, someday, Ellen, what you do is going to be known. Someday. Anyway, this woman, probably the most severe asthmatic I had ever seen, to the point now she can live a normal life. And she hikes, and if you know Marin County, and she lives in Mill Valley, and the wind, to be able to hike in that wind and not need medication is a miracle to me. And that's the kind of thing I see every day. If I could ring a bell with the miracles that I see every day, it's remarkable. But it's a system. And it's not just one thing. It's not just getting rid of allergies, because there's a lot of techniques out there that just do allergies. It's a system that I put together based on clinical practice over 28 years. So why is there more asthma? Why is there more sinusitis? Why is there more gastric reflux? Okay? What I believe, and probably what you've talked about so much in these forums, is one of the reasons is the amount of toxicity that we are bombarded with on a daily basis that we don't know. It's foods, it's chemicals, it's our water. You were just talking about the pharmaceuticals in the water. All these little kids, babies, they have found that they have more pharmaceuticals in their blood than some of the adults who are taking them because of the water. This is true. And we wonder why they have all these skin problems. Why do they have all this ADD? That's another whole area that I can sit and talk about for hours, that I have excellent results with, and people come from all over the world. And a large part of it is the chemical toxicity. And I know that there are great techniques out there. There's chelation or whatever. There's so many other things that you can do that are simpler, more natural, easier, less expensive, and that you can do at home. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason, I believe, is that most everyone has food allergies. There's not a person that doesn't come to me, and some people come who are more severe in their problems, and some people that just come in and they just want to see. Most people have food sensitivities. Most of what you're eating, you react to. It doesn't mean that you react where you have a severe allergic reaction like hives or your lungs close up or you can't get out of bed or you have an anaphylactic reaction. That's not what most people are experiencing. Most people are experiencing symptoms such as headaches, obesity, food craving. Food craving is a sign of food sensitivities. Eczema, hair falling out. How many women and men, but mostly women, because men it's a little bit more as far as genetics and hormones, but how many women that you come across have hair that's falling out? Or arthritis pain. Everyone has arthritis. Why do some people have pain with it and some people don't? Much of that is a result of what we're putting in our body, what foods we're sensitive to. So that's the second thing. And the third thing related to asthma is emotions. There's not any asthmatic who's had it that doesn't tell you that much of their symptoms are exacerbated with emotional stress. And how many people we know who doesn't have emotional stress? So that, and more the stress that goes on every day. So chemical toxicity, poor digestion, food sensitivities, and emotions is probably a large part of what goes on as far as why we're seeing an increasing amount of asthma, sinusitis, and all the related respiratory problems. So I wanted to just introduce you to what Bioset is and how it relates to asthma. And everybody knows what asthma is, I'm sure. I don't need to describe. Everybody knows what it is, right? It's a reaction to an allergy. Finally, the medical profession is actually saying that it is related to allergies. They never even used to say this before. This is new, fairly new. What happens is there's accumulation of mucus in the bronchioles, the respiratory system, and it can cause the body to have a histamine or an allergic reaction that excretes this mucus and can cause a closing off of the bronchioles, spasms sometimes, which can create wheezing or coughing or inability to take a deep breath. Those are the different symptoms. Some people experience just coughing, some people have actual wheezing, some people can't breathe or take a deep breath. Those are some of the symptoms that, and some people have it at certain times of the day, some people have it more at night, some people have it more in the morning when they get up, which of course is related to different allergies as well. So what I found is that to approach a condition like asthma, you need to look at the whole person and see all the different areas and what you can do to direct and help each part of it. So Bioset is an energy medicine system. I developed it probably about 15, 16 years ago. Again, based on using enzymes and doing everything I can do to work with people who had asthma or allergies or other chronic autoimmune problems. What can you do? Somehow, things happen to you. I came across a system of evaluating allergies. And I'm talking about allergies, not just what you think allergies are. It's just not runny nose or, an asthma symptom or hives. Allergies are much broader meaning. Anything that you react to abnormally, I consider an allergy. So you can be allergic to the rug, you can be allergic to the person sitting next to you, you can be allergic to the perfume of the person sitting next to you. You can be allergic to a bacteria and a virus. And this is some of the innovative work that I have done with Bioset that has made such a difference when you're dealing with chronic, persistent, severe asthmatics or people who have chronic autoimmune problems like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, thyroiditis, which Bioset has cures. We've had 1,000 patients that have been cured of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune. And doctors all over the world that have studied with me, we have incredible results with autoimmune. Because I look at allergies as not just an anaphylactic reaction, but it's an unusual abnormal sensitivity. And it can affect one part of the body or it can affect the whole part of the body. For me, it always affected the digestive system. For asthmatics, it affects their bronchial system. Some people get skin reactions, some people get headaches. But most doctors don't understand why that this is the underlying root of it is sensitivities. Some people have all of those symptoms. These are the fibromyalgia people. We call them or train wrecks, or chronic fatigue. Everything, they're affected in every way. All the systems of the body are affected. So based on the frustration that I found that there was nothing that you can do for people who had rheumatoid arthritis, who used to come see me, or hay fever, or asthma, I studied and did what I could to research. And I came across muscle testing, which is probably one of the most advanced evaluated tools that anyone can do. Anyone can do. You can evaluate so many, and I talk about it, I teach it in my classes, and I describe it in the book. Anybody can learn how to do it. Anyone. Even 5-year-olds can learn how to do it. It's so easy. You can save someone's life. Just one story. When I wrote my first book, who was an asthmatic, and that's how my first book got written, because she was cured with this, with the Bioset work. She said, we got to write a book, and she helped me write a book. Well, we were on a book tour, right? And we went to Whole Foods, and she bought these lovely cherries. And she ate this cherry and had an immediate reaction, asthma. She didn't know what to do. So we muscle tested her, and I treated her with the Bioset system, and within minutes, of course, she was fine. But this tool saved her life. She didn't have to use her medications. She didn't have to go to the hospital. We were able to evaluate that, and I don't think it's a day that goes by that I don't use muscle testing. One of my mentors, who I value in his spiritual work and lesson, is Dr. David Hawkins. Have you heard of Dr. David Hawkins? Power versus Force was his first book. Well, I try to go to his lectures at least twice a year. And he's in his 80s, and so if you have a chance, listen to his tapes, go online. You know, his whole criteria for evaluating levels of consciousness, which is something I've incorporated into my practice, I have a whole consciousness protocol, is using muscle testing. And here's a medical doctor, psychiatrist, that uses muscle testing. It's an incredible tool if you learn how to do it, and it's not hard to do at all. I'm sure you have, and taught patients to do it. Anyway, I started with muscle testing, but the only problem with muscle testing is that you can only do a certain amount of muscle testing, and then the person gets fatigued, or you get fatigued, especially if you have a bad back. And I did so much of it that I did have a back problem at some point. So I looked and searched for other methods of evaluating allergies. I came across a doctor who used an EAV machine. And I heard about it, I bought it. I went out and spent $11,000, didn't know how to use it. Bought this machine and spent hours and hours. I had patients come in, didn't even charge them, and I tried to create a system of evaluating food sensitivities or sensitivities altogether on the machine. I went and studied with someone, spent the whole 3-4 days in a seminar, and I asked him, I said, show me how to do a food allergy test. And he showed me, and from then I developed my whole software, and I created a software that utilizes EAV machine, which is an energy acupuncture evaluative tool that literally could evaluate meridians, which are energy pathways in the body, where there are blockages, what's causing it, where it's from, what it's causing, and what you can do to eliminate that blockage. And the BioSet system is based on using that and or muscle testing, depend on the practitioner that does it. So I began to do that in my practice and started to evaluate allergies and sensitivity and started to treat people based on using other different practices and develop my own to actually clear or desensitize people to different sensitivities. And I developed a protocol, and there are 6 levels of protocol in the BioSet system. First thing, starting at the very basic thing, like desensitizing to vitamin C. Most people are sensitive to vitamin C. Most. I know it's probably hard for you to hear that. The number one reaction from vitamin C allergy is eczema. How many people you know have eczema? And eczema is a precursor to asthma. So if a child has eczema and you eliminate the sensitivities related to the eczema, you can prevent them from getting asthma, because no doubt they will get it. And it's the same sensitivities. The second common sensitivity related to eczema that's also related to asthma is wheat. And then the third is B vitamins. So just those 3 alone can probably help most asthmatics. You desensitize, and you can learn how to do it yourself in my books. Or you can see a BioSet practitioner. We have a website that has referrals all over the world right now. You will see almost a 50% clear in eczema just by clearing, we call it a clearing, a desensitization to vitamin C, and the related foods, like fruits or citrus foods. And how many people take all this vitamin C? They're having, what they're taking it for is what's a result of. Usually sore throat. Also sore throat's usually an allergy to vitamin C. Anyway.
What do you mean by desensitization? What do you do?
Okay, I'll get to it. So I just wanted to, before I get to exactly what that is, the other things I did with my patients with the BioSet system is, of course, put them on an enzyme, because everyone goes on an enzyme, okay? You can eliminate 80%, listen, write this down, 80% of food sensitivities can be eliminated just by taking a full spectrum a vegetarian digestive enzyme. 80% of food sensitivities. Why people go on an enzyme and then stop taking it, I do not understand. In fact, I got this email from someone in the UK, because my Micro Miracles book came out in England under a different name, and they want to use something from it in the article. And one of it was how much you need to chew your food in order to really digest the food. Do you realize how much you need to chew your food? At least 20 so times in order to actually break down. So most of us are eating all this great food. We spend so much money at the farmer's market, Whole Foods, yet we're not utilizing the food. I mean, it's so darn simple, isn't it? So I put everyone, I don't care if they're a month old or if they're 90, everyone goes on a digestive enzyme. You don't need to take it every meal if you want, just take it once a day. For children, even once a day, it's going to make a huge difference. 80% of food sensitivities. Food sensitivities are the cause of so many health problems, from asthma, headaches, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, leaky gut. It can make such a difference. And when you talk to people who find and take an enzyme and you ask them that it's changed their life around, there's not a day that I don't hear that. And the passion that you hear in my voice is the passion, and is what I see every day that I work in my clinic, or hear from people that email me from all over the world. I have this man that is an engineer who lives in Pakistan who's been trying to get a visa to come to the United States to get biostat work done. Can't get the visa. He calls me once a month. He had gastric esophageal reflux disease, and I put him on this GastroCom, and it cured him. He tried everything, right? And here, he's in Pakistan. I sent him this enzyme. It took him like 3 weeks to get there, if that. I think it was longer than that. And then he bought my book. We sent him my book on asthma, and his 3 girls have asthma, and 2 of the girls already don't need any medication. And he's just doing it himself, because he can't get, you know, they want to try to get over here, the whole family, but they can't get here because our relationship with Pakistan. It's so important to digest your food is key. There are other enzymes that I put together over many, many years because I studied every single, talk about going back to school and study. I study every night. That's my life, you know, and I think I read everything you can imagine on enzymes, everything you can imagine on the immune system. That's just been my focus. So I treat a lot of people with immune disorders because of that. I developed enzymes that are called systemic enzymes, which are enzymes that you take not with meals, in between meals. So for example, there's an enzyme that's called protease that's very important for asthma or anyone with inflammation. Most chronic health problems, especially autoimmune, the problem relies on, it's based on inflammation. There's more and more that you can read in the literature about it. And literally, I'm not just saying this, but I've said this for years and years and years. And the protocols that I have with the biostat system of the clearing, which I'll talk about, is based on eliminating or reducing inflammation. One of the most important things out there that's being written, and there's so much literature about, and I write about it in my Micro Miracles and did research for years before that book was written, is protease. A good potent protease is one of the best anti-inflammatories that exist, that cannot hurt you. The only thing, if you have a little GERD, it could cause an aggravation, although I just put together a new protease, and I have a new line of enzymes that I have worked with now clinically, and other doctors that actually won't cause any irritation in the mucous membranes, which is very exciting. So I put everyone on protease. Not only is it anti-inflammatory, it's fibrinolytic. It will break up fibrin, reduce plaquing, reduce incidence of stroke. And it also can, at early stages of a tumor growth, can actually break up tumor cells. It's been proven in research. So I put everyone on it. The other enzymes that I've worked with clinically is using some herbal extracts in an enzyme formula. So for example, if you put protease in a formula for, let's say, the skin, using certain herbs that we've researched that's good for skin, do it in enzyme form. It optimizes the use of those herbs, and it also reduces inflammation so the body can use it. So I was just mentioning to someone, there's one, for example, with ginkgo that's great for brain activity, which I lived on with my medical school. Putting it in enzyme form, you'll see the use, you'll benefit from the use of ginkgo more than any other product rather than just taking it by itself. So enzymes, again, optimize the use of that particular thing or a vitamin as well as reducing inflammation. So you utilize what's in those systemic enzymes. So there are systemic enzymes and there are digestive enzymes. So there are certain asthmatic enzymes that's specific for asthma that I put together because I see so many asthma people and because biostat practitioners do. One of them is lung. One of them is what's called a vitamin C enzyme. And all the enzymes that I've put together are all food-based. I don't use any synthetic. I never take a vitamin or a mineral that's synthetic at all, or any kind of supplement. I have had no symptoms. I tried everything before I took a digestive enzyme, so I don't trust anything out there. Of course, unless I muscle test it or unless I test it on the machine, for me, enzymes just made such a difference, so I only stick to enzymes. And I'm really 90-something. I just look a little younger than that. See, they know me, right? I've been around a long time, right? So the third part of the bioset system, so there's enzymes, there's the allergy desensitization, which I'm going to explain, and then the other part that's very important is to evaluate toxicity and detoxifying. Allergy desensitization or even taking enzymes if your body is not detoxifying adequately. And some people inherently don't, and they cannot take any medications. There are some young children that are put on certain antidepressants or lithium, and lithium has a very small tolerance of toxicity. I really have such, you just need to be so careful when you're dealing with these people that go on these medications, and to see if their body's actually able to utilize and detoxify these medications. Some people just inherently don't have that ability to do that. Through the system that I put together, the software, you can evaluate levels of toxicity and you can see where the toxicity is. You just don't always know why, but you can work with it. And I use certain homeopathics that have been made specifically for Bioset that actually help to detoxify, drain, and help the body eliminate. And that's very, very important because some people have symptoms even of asthma or headaches that are just related to the inability to detoxify. And again, we are bombarded by so many toxins. Just one of the things that I do when I test asthmatics is I tell them to collect water in their house. Just take some water in a jar, put it in their bedroom for 48 hours, and then bring it in. And sure enough, probably 90% of the people are sensitive to it. Not only that, they're sensitive to water they drink, even if it's the best water they know is, as well as what they're bathing in, that water, and sometimes just desensitizing them to that can reduce their asthma symptoms when they're in their house. It's not just dander, and it's not just dust, and it's not just mold. There are other things. There's probably 500,000 chemicals that we don't even know about that we're up against every day. It's scary. Okay, so the third, the third part of Bioset, which really brings people into Bioset in the first place all over. And by the way, I teach practitioners all over the world, and they're only health practitioners. They can learn the Bioset system to the sophistication that they can actually be on our website as certified Bioset practitioners. But anybody can learn how to do some desensitization. Anybody can take an enzyme and detoxify, and that's all in my books. But to actually treat people with Bioset. And by the way, there's a woman there's an elephant pharmacy, the woman, she's learning it, and is actually going to have a Bioset machine in elephant pharmacy and be able to test people for supplements. And you can actually, I developed this system where you can actually see if something's more valuable for you. So if you have 3 products, you can see which one's more valuable with you as well as allergic to, which can be so phenomenal, especially if you're dealing with medications for thyroid, etc. There's so much you can do. Anyway, so the desensitization is based on energy medicine, meridians, acupressure, the immune system, and chiropractic. When you are up against an allergy, again, that's a broad term. Let's say you put on perfume, or let's say you ate a piece of corn in your skin, because corn is so highly allergic, especially asthma. Corn's a big one. It causes blockages in certain areas of these energy pathways. Okay? And there are 12 meridians, but there are many, many pathways and areas that it branches out to all over the body. So the system Bioset, as well as muscle testing, can evaluate where those blockages are, very specifically with this EAV machine and the software, or just through muscle testing as well. When you learn where those blockages are, then you can actually clear or desensitize so those blockages are gone, and usually permanently. And sometimes things come back and there's reasons for it. And emotional trauma, physical trauma can do that. Or toxicity, or eating really badly and not taking an enzyme can do that too. Through testing and pressing certain acupressure points, while you're actually hooked up to this energy of the specific thing, you can even think it too, honestly, but you're hooked up to this specific area or frequency of the specific thing. It's almost like you're changing the body's relationship to that food. I had someone that came to see me, a physicist, and said to me, Ellen, he said, this makes so much sense to me, because he said, I felt like something snapped and I got allergic all of a sudden. I woke up one day and all of a sudden I had all these allergies. And what you're doing is it's like a biofeedback. You're changing that relationship. You're clearing it. That's why we call it clear. You're clearing that blockage or that abnormal relationship to that particular thing. And it's not as simple as you think. When the biostat practitioner actually does the elimination, there are a lot of things that you have to look for and find and utilize when you're doing this clearing. So you clear it, and there's certain pressure points on the back, certain acupressure meridians, certain things that's included in the clearing, and then of course doing your enzymes and doing your detoxification, that particular thing is eliminated almost immediately. So that you can come in and you can be sensitive to apples, by the way, very highly allergic fruit. And you can be allergic. I could clear you probably within 20 minutes, and it'll probably last the rest of your life. And you can eat an apple and not have that headache. It sounds amazing, but it works. It doesn't work every time. Cats are hard to clear, but we can clear it. So an asthmatic that gets a cat, I'd rather kill them and shake them and say, why did you get a cat? But if they really want that cat, we can do it. I take a few and they need to reinforce, and then we give them things that they can actually reinforce at home and do it. But you can clear all kinds of foods. You can clear chemicals. You can clear pollens. You can clear a new carpet in your house. So any allergy that you that occurred during your lifetime can be cleared with this biostat system. And it's like I always call it, it's just you're redirecting, you're reprogramming the body to not react anymore. That's what you're doing. But it needs to be reinforced by, you can't go eat terrible food, so I'm very much 100% into good nutrition. I eat only raw food, which I've developed over time. I'm a vegan, and I take almost everyone off of grains if they listen to me. Some people won't listen. And it's all grains except quinoa, wild rice, and buckwheat are the only three that are grasses. They're not grains. But I take everyone. If you have arthritis, if you have asthma, if you're suffering eczema, just go off grains for 10 days. Fibromyalgia, you'll see an improvement. I promise you this. I've been working with thousands of patients over these years. I know. So that's the clearing. And people, again, come in and get cleared, and you can get cleared of this every 2 hours. So every 2 hours you can do another clearing of the specific thing. But with the biostat system, there's an actual protocol. There are certain things you do first. Because why do apple when you can clear vitamin C, which will clear all the fruits? Why do yeast when you can clear B vitamins? Because that will clear a lot of other things, as well as yeast and some other foods that have high B vitamins. Amino acids, the first thing that we do. The other thing that's remarkable is that people don't eliminate bacteria, parasites, and virus because they're actually sensitive to it. And mark my words, you're going to hear about this probably 10 years from now. You say, I remember this woman talking about it. Viruses, I have seen high blood pressure, I have seen migraine headaches as a result of a sensitivity, even Hashimoto's a sensitivity to Epstein-Barr and CMV, cytomegalovirus, an allergy to it. If you are sensitive to it, I don't care how many antivirals you can take, medications or supplements, by doing this desensitization, the body's immune system will help do what it needs to do to eliminate it. And that will make more of a difference in the health of these people than taking medications that are not going to work. Maybe taking medications after, but clear and eliminate the allergy. One of the most important allergies to clear with arthritis is bacteria. And there are a number of bacteria that I have found related to many of the different arthritides. By clearing with the allergy clearing and utilizing certain enzymes, you can really change arthritic pain almost overnight. And most people are dealing with bacteria because many people have been on antibiotics. Not that antibiotics don't work, but most often they're not directed, they're not really working where they're supposed to working, and they actually cause a sensitivity. So they might feel okay with 3 days later, but the sensitivity to that bacteria can stay a lifetime. It can cause problems such as heart disease, arthritic pain, and can create an autoimmune reaction. And this is a lot of what I've talked about in my books and what I teach with the Bioset. So, and this is part of the protocol that a person will go through when they come in for certain problems like asthma or cardiovascular problems or some of the autoimmune MS that Dr. Friedlander talked about. So there are certain protocols that a Bioset practitioner will do, and if they are certified as a Bioset practitioner, they follow those protocols. And they utilize the enzymes and utilize the detoxification. And many of our health problems can be solved. Asthma is one that, again, that we have incredible results with. So why don't I open up to questions? It's getting late and it's freezing in here, isn't it? Yes, doctor.
I got a question for you. I used to treat a patient way back in the 70s and 80s. I don't know if you know her. She developed a program very similar to you. Nabuya?
Nambuja Pai.
Yeah. What is the difference between your program and her program?
And I studied with her about 20-something years ago. She just does the allergy clearing.
Right.
And doesn't use the sophisticated program that I put together, and does not use the detoxification and the nutrition and enzymes. So that's where Bioset's taken on its own, technique.
I have a question on your vitamin C, which I agree with you.
Yeah.
But if you get beat vitamin C, we did research way back with our athletes, and a lot of athletes had allergies, and I used to deal with asthma. A lot of athletes had asthma because of their training outdoors, the heavy metal, and the carbon monoxide. One of the things we did was we got rid of vitamin C from corn, added beef vitamin C, and the allergies went away. Plus, we put them on a high D3 and high vitamin A, and it went completely away by then. And another thing, which Howard Loomis, who used to come in.
He was the one that turned me around.
Using,
Excuse me?
Howard Loomis, Nest product.
Well, the Nest products were, the Bioset enzymes are probably a more potent version of some of the Nest products, but the Nest product was one that I used early on.
Well, one of the things we did with him, with Dr. Howard Loomis and Dr. Elwood, is we put them on probiotics, and they actually called me back 6 months later and said they stopped using their enzymes because the probiotics BB536 and Bacillus actually stimulate natural production of protease, amylase, and lipase in cellulose.
Well, thing is that you can't, that's probably true, but based on my study, you can't replace your own protease, lipase, and anything that can help the body produce your own, and probiotic is something that I use as well, but if you're eating a food and you're not chewing that food, I don't care how much the body over time, if you don't take a digestive enzyme or spend time eating enough raw food and chewing it, you're gonna deplete your enzyme reserve. And as you get older, it's been proven that we already run out of enzymes, and that's something that Dr. Howell researched. So there's nobody's gonna ever tell me that digestive enzymes are important, because it's made such, I see such remarkable differences. You know, just little kids, like I have this family that brought their kid in who has, there's so many young boys, as you know, treating with the Asperger's or, you know, autistic spectrum. I mean, it's like epidemic. And one of the first things I do is test their food sensitivities, and more often than not, first of all, they're usually on a terrible diet, and they're sensitive to most of what they're eating. And just give them a digestive enzyme, and they'll call back and say, what did the teachers say? What did she do? I can't believe how much their behavior is overnight is changed. I mean, it's just by doing one digestive enzyme, you know? I'm buzzing here. So it's so important, you know. I mean, it's like, of all the things, for me it was my gift, and it's something that that I'm passionate about. I think it's so important. Yeah. Yes. Buzzing. Yeah.
Take something called advanced enzyme system by Rainbow, but I've often wondered what is the best way to take an enzyme. Is it 10 minutes before a meal?
Good question.
During a meal, or take it and sprinkle it over the meal?
All of the above are fine. First of all, the best digestive enzyme is vegetarian, full-spectrum digestive enzyme. Animal enzymes are not the best, and I could go into that, but it would take too much time. You can read about it in my book. Dr. Gonzalez, who is using pancreatic enzymes, doing a study in cancer, was given a grant, NIH grant, which will be over in 2009, actually, working with mostly cancer, but pancreatic cancer, using pancreatic enzymes, other things as well. And that's a whole different thing. I'm not talking about curing cancer here, and I'm not talking about treating cancer. I'm talking about well-being, maintenance of health. Talk about longevity. Really, I think it is the key to longevity, is good digestion, because everything starts in the gut. Everything. You can't avoid it. And if you avoid it, you're going to end up with GERD and start taking medication. It's going to cause liver problems, and then you're going to end up with other kinds, and then you'll be on another medication because you're having something else going on, you know. So the best digestive enzyme, systemic is different. I still love it because I'm a vegetarian, and I don't have any animal enzymes in my line, because there's lots of vegetarians that won't take anything unless it's completely, or in a line that's only vegetarian. But systemic is different. I still like vegetarian, but best digestive enzyme is a full spectrum, which means you have amylase, lipase, all the digestives, sugar digestion. Most people need that. Cellulase, and there's a few other things, but those are the most important. Makes such a difference. 10 minutes before you eat is what I suggest. Some people do better. If you have a tendency towards GERD, take it on your first meal, first bite, okay? If you're taking, I have a fiber digestion enzyme. If you take a fiber digestion enzyme, I like it after. But you can sprinkle on. You got to be careful though, when you open a capsule, don't open it near, you don't want to inhale it, okay? Because they are, the best digestive enzyme is grown on aspergillus, which is a mold. Fortunately, most people have no reaction to it. Every once in a while, you'll find someone that might, and so you have to really be careful you don't open up. So please, if you open the capsule up, I'm telling you this, open it away from you so you don't inhale it, okay? Because you might have a reaction. It's not good for children, but a lot of people open it up. So all of that is good. If you're taking the gastric, I have this gastric calm that's for gastrocalm that's for GERD. First bite, in between meals, even after, all works really well. Okay? So does that help? Okay. Yes.
Hi. What does this cost? What is your biosite?
The whole system cost. Everybody is different. So that's why I hate to say everyone who does it is different, you know, as far as each visit. So I don't know. As far as insurance, it depends on what. We have medical doctors doing it, we have chiropractors, we have acupuncturists, you know, so sometimes it goes under their insurance. Eventually, I'd love to have Bioset insurance. That's something that's on my list of things to do.
So do these people, these practitioners that you train,
Yes.
are they acupuncturists?
They're everywhere. I have a neurosurgeon in Chicago that has a huge clinic. I have both. They're the full, I would say it's a full spectrum of most people. Probably the best Bioset practitioners are probably chiropractors, I would say, because they, you know, they have a lot more education in some ways than some acupuncturists do, in the fact that they can utilize all the different aspects of what we can work with. And they know muscle testing. I learned muscle testing when I was in school, which is great. Because muscle testing and the machine are almost exactly the same, except this, I guess the machine is a little bit more complicated. You can do a lot more. I mean, if I brought the machine, you watch me, your eyes would pop out of your head. Watch what you can do. Somebody can come in with a migraine headache. I can see exactly why, where the root of it is, why they have it, eliminate it, and they walk out smiling. Seriously. And I tell you this, happens all the time, as well as hives, as well as female problems. Women comes in who are having irregular bleeding or, you know, breakthrough bleeding. What is it? They go and, you know, they don't want to go, like you said, they don't want to get just a pill. They want to know what's going on. Don't you want to know what's going on? I'm a woman, I want to know what's going on. I find out most women are allergic to hormones, their own hormones. Men also, but women are. I've never found a woman that way. You treat them with the allergy work, this clearing with their hormones, it usually will take away that breakthrough bleeding. Yeah.
Now, the woman that you have with the cherries,
Yeah.
can you demonstrate a little muscle test?
Sure. After I answer questions, you want me to, Audrey? Yes. You were a patient.
I wanted to say that Ellen Cutler, Dr. Cutler, put me on enzymes years and years ago. He did remarkable work, changed my life, reduced many of my allergies. I went to many of her.
And female stuff, right? See, I remember. I can't believe I remember that.
It was amazing. It was transformational, and now I will not have a meal without enzymes.
If I leave my house and I don't have the enzyme, I will turn around and go back. I won't have dinner without. I'd rather not eat, right? I mean, it's, you know, it's like you're alive again, and it's amazing the energy that you can feel. Like somebody was saying, could I feel that energy that, you know, my 16-month-old has or whatever? Absolutely. You know, and again, you do fantastic work. There's so many other things, and not excluding that. You know, we even clear for emotions all the time. If it comes up, if that's what's going on, you have to do it. You can think of a person or an emotion and actually do the desensitization and feel better. Isn't that bizarre? It does work, you know? And it's you're doing it. It's not like I'm doing it, you're doing it. Yes, yeah.
How do you find a practitioner?
Okay, my website is bioset.net, and my website is going through a new transition on Monday, but you can go, it's still up now. So if you're having trouble getting online and finding a practitioner, wait till Monday or Tuesday. But we have a whole referral list all over the world for Bioset practitioners. And most of the Bioset practitioners, I think, don't hold me to it, are certified. Sometimes I hear things, you know, if they're certified, they use the Bioset enzymes, they use the protocols, they use the detoxification, and they come to an advanced seminar at least once a year with me. We hope, those people, you know, but
What is it again?
it's called, I'm sorry, www.bioset.net. bioset.net. And my clinic, if you want to call me for referrals, we have people call all the time, is 877, we're toll free, 927-0741. So that could also, and if you don't find a practitioner and you just want to get on enzyme, you read my book, you can go through the website or call that number, and we will hook you up with a practitioner, even if they're not in your area, and they'll help you. You can fill out a questionnaire, and they can help you get on the enzymes if you can't figure it out by yourself, just through the book. Okay? So if you want to do that, huh? Yeah, that's it. All the books, the food allergy cure is just on the Bioset technique. That's mainly about asthma. Micro Miracle is just about enzymes.
Which book are you speaking of when you're saying read the book, and it's in the book, and otherwise call
any of them. But the food allergy cure is really about the Bioset technique. So is that one, though. But it's more oriented towards asthma. The food allergy cure has all the different other conditions into the bloodstream. They go through these little villi. Sometimes what happens, they get scarred or damaged, and they either get too big, where too much goes through, or not enough. So the undigested foods or other things, toxins, gets into the bloodstream. And anything that gets into the bloodstream can cause an immune reaction. You can get, an IgE, which is a bad allergic reaction, IgG. So it can cause these immune complexes, which I explain a lot in my book. And then you can have a reaction that causes symptoms. And it can cause headaches, it can cause bloating, it can cause a lot of lymph congestion. A lot of people have a lot of pain in their intestinal area or get bloated. It's usually from food allergies causing this CICs, or these circulating immune complexes, which causes all this immune reaction, inflammation, and the lymph is swollen and irritated. And that's what it is, and they get scared, but a lot of it is because they're inflamed, and a lot of it is because they're food allergies, and now they're seeing, and that's why all these kids have this GERD as well. I mean, I can't tell how many kids come in, they've been put on, these over-the-counter Prevacid or, these Protonics, and they're like, they can't even talk yet. I mean, it's incredible. And then I put them on these enzyme and get rid of the allergies and help them heal that gut. And they're hardly ever fail by doing that, So yes, antibiotics is not a good idea. I mean, it's not that it's not necessary, sometimes it is, but there's so much you can do to prevent that, Both kids have never been on antibiotics. I have a 29-year-old and my daughter's 18. I don't say it a lot because anything can happen, but anyway, never been. Yes?
What is the process of clearing?
The clearing is this tapping that you do on the back, on the spine, as well as some acupressure points that's done when you're holding or in connection to the specific item that you're wanting to clear. So let's say you're clearing an apple. You can actually hold the apple and do the clearing with it. It's like you're changing the body's, through the nervous system, the body's relationship to that particular thing. You're telling it something else, and that's what you're doing. It's like biofeedback.
How is that something we could learn?
It's in my book. I describe it in the asthma book, and the food allergy cure is exactly, there's diagrams, and it's easy to learn, and you can go home, you can do one food at a time, whereas if you go to a Bioset practitioner, you can do a bunch of things at a time. But still, you can do it at home, and it's free. And you can learn to do it, and anyone can do it. You can sit in front of the TV if you want and do this clearing. It's great. And you can do it with emotions. If you're feeling anxious, you can actually clear that anxiety by doing that. It's an acupressure. I told you exactly, I give you exactly the directions in the book how to do it. It's really easy to do. And it's fun. It's fun to do it on each other, too. Yes? Do you first, yeah.
You done any, as far as asthma goes, any lung capacity testing, any studies, double-blind studies with your results?
We are in the midst of doing that. And I just haven't had the time or the money to do that kind of thing, although I've started it. I do have an asthma allergist, immunologist in Riverside, California, that went, by doing Bioset, he went from 25 steroid-dependent patients down to 2 just by doing Bioset. Unfortunately, he said, because he lives in an area that insurance, so a lot of people, because it didn't cover, it wasn't covered with their insurance. So a lot of people chose, he would give them an option. You do this or you can do regular, asthma medication. And the ones that chose to do that, most were able to get off prednisone or other steroid medications. So I know it works. I've had children have had, peak flow testing and whatever, but we are putting together some studies. Eventually, over the next couple of years, it's going to happen because I have more and more doctors that are doing Bioset. So, yeah.
Would you talk about your experiences of treating Hashimoto's?
Hashimoto's, yeah. I don't know if I have the time. Do I have the time to talk about it? It's getting late, right? Sure, talk about it. Just by coincidence, I had great results with Hashimoto's. As you know, Hashimoto's is, the body has an allergic reaction to the follicular cell of the thyroid, as well as the thyroid globulin, which is the hormone. So it's an autoimmune aggressive disease that can cause symptoms of hypothyroid. They can have hyper to hypo. Most of the, what the medication is usually going on Synthroid. Armour thyroid is not a good idea because if they're sensitive to their own thyroid hormone or gland, why would you give them a natural Armour thyroid, because it's probably going to intensify the symptoms. So I don't like Armour. That's one of the medications I least like, by the way. I rather see people go on Synthroid if they have to go on it. And usually they come and they're on it. Okay, and I don't take them off of it. It's just what happens is they end up going to their endocrinologist and they say, your tests are normal, so I don't think you have this anymore. And they say this is something that you have for life. Interesting, as well as colitis, you have it for life, And so when they say you might not have it anymore, it's pretty remarkable. Anyway, what is important is that Bioset treats the person, they don't treat the disease. So it's not like I treat Hashimoto's differently than I do asthma. We treat the person. Everyone goes on enzymes. Maybe it's individualized based on what you are experiencing as opposed to somebody with asthma. Everyone does some detoxification. And everyone goes through what's called the first 2 protocols, level 1 and level 2, which pretty much takes you to a point where most people are probably okay and don't even need further clearings. If you do, there is a protocol for Hashimoto's that I put together that has to do with certain allergens that I found that's specific for that makes a difference, including all the hormones, selenium, which is an important mineral for a thyroid, foods. Commonly foods are the lipids, fats, sugars, caffeine, big time. And clearing for it also helps a person go off of it. So if somebody's addicted to chocolate, you clear allergy to it because you're usually allergic to it. Usually their chocolate craving will reduce and sometimes be eliminated altogether. So it's great for craving. So when you go through all that, then if they're still experiencing certain symptoms, they usually have some testing done. Then there's further advanced Bioset work with using Hashimoto's that is done that usually is the concluding effect and last that you do and makes a big difference. So everybody who's done that, I have a doctor in Pittsburgh, a EENT, who's done a lot of work with thyroid, who's had hundreds and hundreds of Hashimoto's where he's cured with Bioset. So we have great results. I welcome those patients because we do so well with it. And it's great to just focus. The problem is that when one person has one autoimmune, it's likely they have others. So it's important to treat the person, not the disease, because you're treating and you're also helping other possible autoimmune problems to result there. Many people with Hashimoto's have fibromyalgia, which is a similar kind of autoimmune problem too. So one more couple more questions. Yes?
I wonder how the Bioset compares to the emotional freedom technique.
a lot of people who do Bioset also do the EFT, and I am working with another doctor right now. We're putting a book together on emotions, and that's one of her areas. She's a psychiatrist. So it's very good as a supplement, but it's not at all related to Bioset in terms of the magnitude of what we do with enzymes and detoxification and the protocols. But if it's the emotions, that's something that's good to do in combination with clearing the emotion. It's very similar in that way. Yeah, great. Okay, we got it.
Okay, do we wind it up there?
Yeah, sure. I'm winding.
Okay, great. That's good. Okay, thank you all. And see you next week. Next month.
Next month.
Okay, hold on.
Again, most of you know Dr. Bernd Friedlander. He's been with us for many years, and we've talked to him, and he's been very, very helpful. I first ran across Bernd many, many years ago in Los Angeles. He was a young, strapping lad, and basically, I found him working in a Chinese noodle factory. And he was chasing the women there, and after a period of time, they moved him up to the Chinese fortune cookies. And he did a wonderful job, but the factory manager said he's still chasing the women, said, well, perhaps we can convert the creative juices that he was using and is still using, unfortunately, into more attractive things. So they made him, he was composing the little things that would go into the Chinese cookie. And the one I saw, the last one I saw, and it said, I was a little bit concerned about them, and I figured he had to get into another field. And that is that, what was it? There were two of them. One of them I will not repeat. And I don't even remember. Oh, no, he came up, and she was only a carriageman's daughter, but all the horse manure. And I said, well, with that one, we have to channel him into a different direction. Now, Bernd went to the chiropractic school. He was the coach of the 1984 the chiropractor for the 1984 Olympic track team. He was the trainer for the women's, what was that, rowing team? Sculling team. What? The crew team. The crew team. Now, he's worked with many, many different athletic teams, professional athletic teams. He has a great sense of humor. He's very helpful. He has his doctoral degree. What is that degree in, Bernd? What?
Molecular biology.
Molecular biology. So this is no nickel dime we're presenting here. Okay.
But I never attended class. So
What? You never attended the class?
No, I never. I got it as a honor.
Yeah.
All the work I did at UCLA. So
That's right. So, but he has worked extensively with a lot of people. He's always been a great deal of help. So, Bernd, you're going to blast us on Facts the Facts.
I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
After
Okay.
this? Okay. Wow. 83? I can't wait till 93 for him. Are you taking any paracetamol? It gets a little oxygen in there, in the brain. Okay. I don't know how I got into noodle shop, but thanks. No, I just briefly, I actually graduated from San Francisco State University first in exercise physiology, and I was a physical therapist for 6 years. And then I went back to chiropractic school for 4 years. While I was in chiropractic school, I actually started a sports training facility at UCLA, an alternative for steroids. And I was a member of the 80, 84, and 88 Olympic team, and also with the Raiders, Rams, Lakers, and Clippers, and San Diego Chargers, and Kansas City Chiefs, and 20 other universities. So I did a lot of sports nutritional research for them, and that's how I got an honorary degree from postdoctorate. And I just found my license and all that, and I go, my God, I don't even remember that. And I got it in 1981, 82 at UCLA. So But today let's just go, because I don't even have enough time to cover what I really want to cover. There's so much information on fats and the facts of fats. Let's just go over to, there are many different forms of fats, as you can see, and they're all essential. You got to understand, fats are essential. It's how you get them into the body that I'm going to describe a little bit more about, and the importance of fats, the intake of fats, because there's a lot of important factors. Your myelin sheath, your brain, your nerves, muscles. All the lining of every cell in our body is controlled by lipids and proteins. So it's important. And a matter of fact, all the scientific community is now showing that a lack of fat is what's causing a lot of disease and cancer and aging. I got a lot of research on that I just accumulated in the last few days. So I want to just talk about all these. They're important, as you know. And don't be afraid of saturated fats, because I've been living on it for, almost 60 years now. Because I just turned 60. So I must have done something good with it. So saturated fats, you can see the hydrogen bonds are important, and we can talk about that, but we're not going to go about the mechanism of lipid oxidation. I'll show you, because I just got a wonderful paper from Steve Falks. Is Steve here?
No.
Oh, too bad. He and I have been communicating back and forth about fats, and really came up with some incredible papers. It just came today, so I won't be able to share all of that. But as you can see, the importance of fats right here. We'll go to the next slide. You can see the double bonds, and you can see the olive oil, peanut oil, walnut oil, avocados, cashews, peanuts, pistachios, walnuts. They're all valuable. It's just how you take them. So again, now we have the polyunsaturated fats. Now this is the problem. We know that today that polyunsaturated fats are a major problem. They're very highly unstable. Their hydrogen bonds are very unstable, and they oxidize very easily. They have an affinity to oxygen, and that affinity causes lipid oxidation. Now here's the big thing about fats. You have to understand about lipid oxidation. Is one of the major causes of all disease is polyunsaturated fats. Number one cause of glycation is not sugar. Recently shown in several scientific community that polyunsaturated fats is the leading cause of glycation, the hardening of the arteries, the elasticity, loss of elasticity. And that's due to the consumption of fatty acids. And we all were exposed to that with canola oil and fried foods, etc. If you go to PubMed, you will see all the scientific evidence now that's accumulating on polyunsaturated fats as a cause of diabetes, cancer. As a matter of fact, in 1920, and we were talking about this with Steve Falks, Ray Pete, and Dr. John Coleman, who also spoke about it in his writing in a book. He was the head of research for life extension, Dr. John Coleman, that lipid oxidation is a major factor in aging. There's no doubt. It's also the major factor of cancer. Now, they gave animals a high diet of polyunsaturated fats, and they gave other animals in the 1920s and 60s saturated fats. Who do you think came down with cancer? Okay, it's in the literature. Go back, way back in the 1920s with Dr. Burrs and Ray Pete has been talking about this for the last 10, 15 years that I know of. And it's in the literature that polyunsaturated fats created cancer, okay? Because it causes damage to the gene expression. That's how fats work. They are signaling, a major factor in signaling of all cells and how they replicate and when not to replicate. Okay, that's very important. I'll show you an article that just came out about cholesterol. And we can go over this. Here's another paper. I'll show you a very interesting paper that just came out. Cholesterol plays a prevention role at cellular level against cancer. Right here. Major publication. We're not only, I've seen 10 different publications on this from different countries, from France, Sweden, Israel, United States, saying that when you have a low level of cholesterol, it affects what's called the ERK signaling effect. Its replication is controlled by cholesterol. Okay, if you have too little cholesterol, you have a problem. You have uncontrollable ERK signaling, and that causes replication, okay, of cells. If you have too high, you also have a problem there. So you have to have modification there of cholesterol. But most people today are low in cholesterol, unless you're eating a high diet of butter and cream and fats and all that, which, you know, is good for you in some ways because it does work on Parkinson's and other conditions like that. Now here's another report that just came out of France. Okay, cholesterol and depression. They're finding that people who are depressed have a lower level of cholesterol. Right here, an article by France, and it's all over, published in PubMed right now. There's another article on cholesterol and suicidal behavior. Right here, low levels of cholesterol are linked to suicidal and depression and other, you know, conditions, behavioral conditions. Okay, there's an article, polyunsaturated fatty acids in causing depression. Right here. Okay, this is another article. So there's important facts about these things. And now we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday. Bill, Mike, Phil, and Tim, and Stan, and we discussed about omega-3s. Now, I spoke to lipid chemistry out of different universities. Out of Columbia University, I spoke to Dr. Umura, who's a world-renowned MD, PhD, and he found that people who he's worked with, cancer patients, that took a high amount of omega-3s actually promoted cancer growth. Well, there's so much literature today coming out that omega-3s are addressing the problem of bringing cancer down. Well, not true. There's a lot of papers now showing that aldehydes are buildup of omega-3s because a part of the oxidation brings inflammatory down. But what is the byproduct of oxidation? It's a major problem of lipid oxidation that's getting into the cells. Once it gets into the cells, it causes DNA mitochondrial damage, and then you have to protect yourself with what's called SOD, which is the major defense mechanism against fatty acids, and people don't realize that. And one of the best ways to get SOD in your body, when you go out in the sun to protect against radiation, you need the sun, but you want to avoid radiation, is SOD. And the major one is called endothelial SODs. And you can get that from glycidin, which is a product out of France, which is made from cantaloupe. Are you familiar with glycidin? It's in the market. It's sold by every company right now. Source now, it's the biggest product on the market. Another one out of Hawaii is called biotech. Are you familiar with the sprouted corn, biotech? It's been proven by Philadelphia University to produce SOD levels, and it protects against radiation. One of the big factors we have is the concern about oils. What everyone has said about, Coleman has said, Steve Falk said today, and many other scientists, is that if we consume fats, we have to make sure our defense mechanism is there, our antioxidants. Vitamin E is the first defense against fats. So you need not only the D-alpha, you need the gamma, then you need the tocotrienols. New research just came out today that tocotrienols has a major defense in lipid oxidation. So you need the mixed tocopherols, the mixed tocotrienols. Then another paper just came out recently, and it's been around, is that sesame lignans are very important, and that's why Life Extension is promoting sesame lignans and all their antioxidant defense mechanism, because it's very powerful against free fatty acids. Okay, so the other thing, let's just go on. I just want to show you a little bit of all this. We keep going, damage. You see what they do? Here's the studies. This comes out of PubMed. Every literature we go, and I can show you the reference to that. It lowers all the polyunsaturated fats. What they do is they produce a tremendous amount of aldehydes in our body. And here's the problem. This is the recent research that is going on in anti-aging conferences right now, is that we produce naturally our own aldehydes from breathing. Every time we take a deep breath, we are causing lipid oxidation. Okay? That is part of why low caloric restriction diets, meaning lower your metabolism, you create less oxidation, you cause less mitochondria damage. I was on the phone with Bruce Ames just recently about all this, and he's putting out a new paper on all this, and it's going to be exciting what he's going to come out with. Hopefully he'll come out with it. He's got a lot of other things interested. But you see, unsaturated fats cause aging, clotting, inflammation, cancer, and weight gain, because it causes inflammation, and inflammation is now a major cause of weight gain as well.
Is it unsaturated fats or the oxidation of unsaturated?
Yeah, the oxidation, yes. I didn't want. And now here's all the studies on cholesterol. This is Dr. Richard Anderson, chairman of biology and senior author, and he's published a lot of articles on the cholesterol and the mechanism of signaling pathways, which I just told you. This is another paper that did not come out of this.
What's considered low cholesterol?
What?
What's low in cholesterol?
What is low?
Yeah.
No, the levels of cholesterol in our body, because we're going into polyunsaturated, and we're not eating, our butters and our saturated fats like coconut milk. There's a lot of research now that the MCT in coconut milk, the lauric acid. If you go into print out lauric acid, you'll see a lot of information on lauric acid and suppressing tumor. It blocks the coconut milk and coconut oil and sesame oil and many other cholesterols block the formation of new blood vessels into cancer cells. Palmitic acid, one of the most powerful fatty acids in the world, and I told Abram Bird just had a patient with a 75 PSA, metastatic bone cancer, prostate cancer, and they did a scan and they found that the cancer was 2/3 in remission and that the PSA went down to 2.5 by the use of palmitic acid, L-serine, and niacinamide, because what you have is you're signaling a pathway called ceramide. The ceramide pathway, you all need to know about that. That's a major factor in all inflammation is the ceramide pathway.
The question back there was, what is the number, the cholesterol number, like, is it 175?
Oh, no. I understand now, the numbers. Okay. We found that Dr. Stephen Schwartz at UCLA always told me this, that the numbers, in 1987 when I was at working in the department with Roy Wolford and low caloric restriction, Dr. Stephen Schwartz was a brilliant cell physiologist, MD. His main thing at UCLA was thyroid function. He says everybody with low thyroid is going to develop serious diseases such as cancer. But he says that every cancer patient he's ever seen, and pathologists have said the same, cholesterol levels are extremely low, like 130, 120, 125. A good cholesterol should be between 190 to 220, 250. But that's not the key. The key is the HDLs. You've got the small lipoprotein, the small LDLs, which are more of a problem than the large HDLs. The small LDLs are the major problem. So if you have a low cholesterol but a high LDLs, you can have that. You want to bring LDLs down, you want to get HDLs up. And that's a major factor. And you know what? Eating the right foods will do that. And eating foods that are high in, omega-3s, omega-6, omega-9s. You need them all. Israel did a research and found that the perfect level of omegas should be, omega-3 should be 1, then omega-6 should be 3, and then the omega-9 should be up there around 2 or 3 also. They found that's a perfect level because of cell membrane integrity and all that. Now, I treated a lot of MS patients, and a lot of them came to me with very low cholesterol levels. Okay, very low. They were on a olive oil, they were on coconut oil, not coconut, they were canola oil, a lot of peanut oil and corn oil. So they were eating a lot, and plus their vitamin D3 levels are extremely low. They were around 15, 10, 15. That was very low. So we brought him up. That's how I met Joseph Prendergast about 4 or 5 years ago, and I brought him here, is that one of my patients I upped to 25 to 30,000, and then Prendergast sent me a patient, and I said, are you taking vitamin D3? Oh, yes, I'm taking a lot of vitamin D3. I said, how much? 50,000. I go, whoa, this guy's ahead of me. And so that's how I got a hold of Joseph, because I was really curious about why he gave him extremely high, where I was usually between 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 is the highest. But I had a dinner with him, and that's when I invited him to come down here and speak about his work. And it's very interesting how he does that, and you've got to balance it with the proper calcium. You cannot take a large amount of calcium when you're doing very high amounts, because you want to mobilize calcium out of certain areas, and so it will do that. And then magnesium just came out, and deficiencies of magnesium now are linked to aging and mitochondria damage. It's linked to the mitochondria, magnesium deficiency. It just came out in the research in the PubMed today. Okay, so we're looking at how important lipids are and cholesterol and all that. So eating the right foods, again, one of the reasons is like we're breathing, we have normal metabolism, we develop lipid oxidation from that. It's a natural phenomenon from the lungs. The lungs are the major factor that causes the highest level of free radicals of any organ, and then because of the breathing and the release of oxygen and CO2 and etc. But aldehydes are extremely high in the lung, and it floats all over the body, and then when you have another high level of taking too much oils, you further increase the lipid oxidation. You have more aldehydes. Now you have more damage to the lipid cell membrane. You lose the integrity, the fluidity, and the nutrients don't go in and out, and then you build up heavy metals, chemicals. One of the other things we talked on the phone today with John Coleman, and Steve also mentioned this on his email, is that make sure that another important factor is that you don't have high levels of certain metals like iron, copper, because you want to chelate them, because they have a high affinity to polyunsaturated fats, to any oils. Remember Lynn Hanshaw said something about which is true, because I asked several other physicians about this years ago, where mercury accumulates to high lipids. Omega-3s have affinity for heavy metals. All fats have it. Remember that conversation we had? It's been Dr. Kessler at Columbia University, who I spoke with, Omura, also said that omega-3s do have an affinity to accumulate heavy metals. And Steve said the same thing, and that's the thing where you have to chelate it out before you get into it. But there's also, you compromise the immune system by eating too much omega-3s. So Dr. Mora found that by keeping 1,000 milligrams or less of omega-3s, he saw cancer patients survive. When they started taking higher amounts, they actually had less survival rate. Interesting. And he's doing a documentary in Los Angeles on this, so you'll see this coming up. Let me go forward a little bit. Cholesterol signaling effect. And then this is a major pathway that's important in all cells and how they control their replication and all of that. There's a lot more to that, but we'll go through that real quick. To other diseases, there's a lot more linked to this. There's a study going on that by controlling cholesterol synthesis in our body, you can expand the lifespan of these, these worms they're using at UC Berkeley for longevity. A paper just came out showing that cholesterol synthesis is a key factor in these worms that are very close to humans, so we're all worms. Okay, so don't go in the water. Okay, you're going to have problems. And they found that this is the #1 factor. You know what they said on this paper? That we can live, if we can control cholesterol synthesis and have the proper cholesterol in our body, and metabolism is corrected, we can live to 175 years. That's the new research on it. There's also another, I was invited, but I'm not going to be. Everybody should go to UCLA this next weekend. There's a major anti-aging conference for 3 days. And I think if you go on the life extension, you might be able to get in for free at UCLA. It's called the Sense, www.sense.org. And it's at UCLA. It's a major conference on aging. Okay, here's a major studies on polyunsaturates, and you can look at it and how it's led to many different forms of diseases and involved with animals and all that, and how important vitamin E is
and then I'll go over a few things about the proper omega, and again, the foods should come out of our diet should be the foods. Okay, like grass-fed beef, right? Tom, has one of the highest forms of omega-3s, naturally. And it's got CLA. Conjugated linoleic acid is a major nutrient for athletic performance. It increases muscle mass with creatine and also has a major function in blocking and stopping cancer growth. Now, don't get it from CLA from sunflower seeds, because we had dinner with Paris Kid, and what did he say about CLA in sunflower seeds? It's linked to cancer because of the oils. Again, flaxseed oils are linked. It's flax seeds that you should be grinding up and having it every day. And the other thing is also very high in omega-3s. This is going to be the next miracle food. I don't know if you know about it. Mike is already 20 years younger since he's been on it. It's salba, it's a seed from Peru. It has high levels of omega-3 naturally, and it has all the omega-3s, or 6 and 9s. This is where you should get your diet. Get it from your fruits and vegetables. There's omega-3s and 6 from leafy green vegetables. Also, there's avocados, a great source of omega-3s and 6 and 9s. Perfect. As a matter of fact, the Israeli studies show that avocados may be one of the perfect foods, of all the foods. Now, the problem we talked about, and I got that information for you, about walnuts and pumpkin seeds are the highest in omega-3s. Pumpkin seeds, by far. That's why they're great for prostate, but it's the seed. You see what? Another thing that you have to understand, protein. When you eat the protein with the fats, it's albumin. I told you about the new studies that come out. There's a great book everybody should start reading. It takes about 10 years to get through. It's called Free Radical in Biology and Medicine, 3rd edition. I'm still, I'm almost 10 years there. I'll tell you how I got into it. You know Buck Institute. They're a major institute right across the bay. You should have them come here and lecture. They're wonderful. They're one of the top institutes in the world in free radical pathology. So I became a member, but before they asked me to become a member, they said, you have to read this book. And that's true. They wouldn't let me come and talk to anybody there until I read this book. And I'm still reading. So they're still not letting me in. But it's a great book. So eat it from your foods, because the protein actually slows down the lipid oxidation. And one of the things about walnuts and all these things, I learned from an agricultural expert that, they do become rancid. And even sprouting, he says, are rancid. They have a high rancid affinity. The problem is with when you get walnuts and almonds and all these cashews and all that, they are very highly unstable. He says you have to, from the farm where they grow this, you have to vacuum pack it, nitrogen flush it, and freeze it or refrigerate it. And that's how you're supposed to get it in the store. So he gave me a formula for you to have. First of all, don't buy it in bulk. Buy it in a nitrogen flush kind of container. Sprouting, he says, does not have any difference in the rancidity. They were equal in rancidity, he said, right? I've read that several reports now. So he says when you want to really reduce the rancidity levels in your nuts, is get them vacuum packed, keep them in the refrigerator, and put them in water. Then you can put a little colloidal silver or whatever you want to put in there, sodium dichloride or any of those things, and you put, what else he said, you can put a little salt in there, and then you drain it when you're ready to eat it, because the water has an effect on all this. Okay, so that's the important thing. Get it from your foods more than your oils. I'm not an oil person, so that's the key. And you can see that there's a lot more. Vitamin E is really important. And I'll just finish this. There's a couple things. Coconut oil is one of the greatest oils. Palmitic acid is going to be the next thing. And then here, like I said, these it didn't come out, but that tells you all the omega-3s and 6 and 9s, which foods are the best. And that's it. Okay, I'm out of here.
Okay, you got that? That's the 20-minute version. We should have given him about 3 weeks, and then we could,
unpack it.
I gotta go Las Vegas, I got another show.
Okay. Now we're gonna have a break, and now let me explain something. You know, now that we've moved over here, we don't have to, you know, bust out of here quite as fast as we used to. So we'll still have plenty of time for our regular speaker. And but let's just kind of relax, stretch, and start again. It says 20 minutes after on that clock. We'll start again at 8:30.